Namaste, salam, sawadi, salamat datang, ayubowan, and welcome all to the Chat for Impact Global Bootcamp series in Asia Pacific. Before we begin, if you want to activate the closed captions or subtitles in Bahasa, please click on the live transcription and CC in the bottom of your Zoom screen and select View Subtitles. We have a very exciting lineup of training and informational sessions that we will cover during today's bootcamp to get you and your fellow team members comfortable with the WhatsApp Business API and the Turn.io platform. My name is Indrani Vedula, and I'm Impact Partnerships Lead at Turn.io for India and Asia Pacific region. I'm joining you today from a bright and sunny Hyderabad, also known as the City of Pearls. I'd like to now ask Jacqueline, the WhatsApp Regional Lead for Civic Engagement in Asia-Pac region, to introduce herself.
Thanks, Indrani. Hello, everyone. I'm Jacqueline, and I'm joining you from Singapore. I'm the Regional Lead for Civic Engagement at WhatsApp APAC. I'm delighted to be here among all of you, and I'm very excited to be co-hosting during this bootcamp. We cannot wait to support you on your journey of creating impact. I'll now pass it on to my teammate Nikhil from India for a quick introduction of himself.
Hi. Thanks, Jacqueline. I'm Nikhil, and I'm joining you from Pune in India. Similar to Jacqueline, I'm the WhatsApp Regional Lead for Civic Engagement for India. I'm super excited to be here and really looking forward to the learning sessions that we have planned for you. I hope that you benefit fully from attending this bootcamp. Going forward, I'm now going to hand over to Pippa Yates. She is the head of product and co-founder of Turn.io. Pippa, may I request you to do a quick introduction and share your thoughts and vision around Chat for Impact.
Sure, thanks, Nicole. Hi, everyone. My name is Pippa Yates, and I'm one of the co-founders of Turn.io. Along with the teams from Preka.org and WhatsApp, I'm very excited to welcome you to this Chat for Impact bootcamp. Over the past 2 years, due to the disruption of the pandemic, social impact organizations like yourselves have had to act quickly to deliver their services very differently. When in-person programming has not been possible, we've had to get creative to deliver support digitally. And with an enormous increase in demand, we've all had to scale our reach. Chat has emerged as one of the most promising ways to deliver deep impact during this time of the pandemic. Chat is private, it's secure, it's highly personalized, and of course, it's extremely scalable. There has never been a better tool to make personalized support accessible to vulnerable people everywhere. And that's what Chat for Impact is all about. You're joining a community of practitioners trying to make the world a little bit better using chat. Organizations are using chat for humanitarian response in Afghanistan, vaccine registration in India, and mental health support for teenagers in Indonesia, and much, much more. So wherever you're joining us today from Asia Pacific, you'll be sure to find other organizations within the Chat for Impact community who are exploring either a similar use case to you or from the same country as you. We encourage you to reach out, connect, and learn together. Today, we're excited to get you started on your journey to use Chat for Impact. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you're ready to be inspired and to get practical over the next few hours. Back to you, Nicole.
Thanks a lot, Pippa, for those inspiring words. I would like to now call upon Abhijit Bose. He's the WhatsApp India head. Abhijit, may I request you to share with us more about the impact and scale that we are looking to drive with WhatsApp.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our WhatsApp Chat for Impact Bootcamp. I'm delighted to be here with you today. You know, I've spoken publicly about this many times. One of the main reasons why many of us joined WhatsApp was to explore how we could leverage WhatsApp's platform and reach to allow partners like you to create and scale innovative solutions which could hopefully solve some of our country's most pressing social problems. Partnering in our country's continued growth is one of the key areas of focus for us, and we've deepened our investment here, giving people across segments and regions access to digital services at low or no cost through WhatsApp, a user experience that they trust and are comfortable with, I believe can significantly impact many people's lives. One example of WhatsApp's impact is unfortunately one that was felt by all of us. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, WhatsApp has been at the forefront of supporting civic actors and government organizations with their relief efforts. And when COVID hit and then hit us again, many people, including my family, turned to and relied on WhatsApp, whether it was to find the latest information in our area or to coordinate with groups for emergency supplies or services for friends, or to simply keep in touch and check in on our loved ones. Entrepreneurial partners like you were able to bring to life innovative solutions, including helplines and chatbots that became the source of truth for important COVID-19 related information for things like vaccination, oxygen, hospital beds, food, medicines, and many other things that were required to help the impacted communities recover fast. All of this was possible through the use of WhatsApp's Business API. And we're hopeful that all of you will now raise the bar again, delivering the next set of social impact solutions that we could never have envisioned. Ones that explode financial inclusion, reimagine how health and support care are coordinated, digitize the hardest hit businesses or segments, and much more. We hope that the WhatsApp Chat for Impact Bootcamp is one of the catalysts for that. We're excited to partner with PrayCelt.org to make this Chat for Impact Bootcamp a reality. Organizations and entrepreneurs like you have always driven a positive social change, and it's very important for us at WhatsApp to support you along that path. Thank you all for everything that you do. We look forward to building some of the most innovative and exciting solutions together through the use of the WhatsApp API. Here's wishing you all the very best. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Abhijit, for those motivating words. We are proud to partner with WhatsApp in supporting such impactful work. As co-hosts, Nikhil, Jacqueline, and I will be tag teaming to manage the sessions and help answer questions that you raise with our support teams. Although we would have liked to have run these sessions in a more interactive format, we hope you understand that the sheer number of participants and organizations in this webinar does not allow us for this. Before we jump into the bootcamp overview, here are some housekeeping rules to keep in mind. Please take a moment to update your profile name on Zoom in the format, the full name of your organization underscore your full name. The full name of your organization underscore your full name. And if you're not able to update that, maybe go ahead and share that information on the Zoom chat feature. Secondly, note that all questions need to be raised in the Q&A section only. So if you wish to ask questions in Bahasa, we have team members that will be able to answer in this language. Thirdly, chat option will be enabled throughout the session and will be moderated by our support team members. And finally, these sessions are being recorded for you to come back to later. Over the next 3 hours, we will be covering a lot. The bootcamp content is divided into 3 pillars. First, learning what is possible. Secondly, understanding how to build your service using best practices. And lastly, next steps that you will need to take after attending the bootcamp to ensure that your journey to building an impactful chat service is smooth sailing. This is the agenda for today. We will have 4 blocks of sessions separated by 3 5-minute breaks. We will weave in some regional inspirational stories through the course of the bootcamp so you can see how much impact organizations similar to yours have already achieved through WhatsApp. The initial sessions will explain what's possible for you to do with the WhatsApp Business API and the basics of the Turn.io platform. We will also run some practical sessions followed by Q&A around WhatsApp Business Account application, the business verification process, and also to help you build the initial blocks of building your chat service. Does that sound exciting? Let's begin. I'll now hand it over to Jacqueline to share our very first inspirational story of this bootcamp.
Thanks, Indrani. 52% of the world still does not have access to essential health services. In our very first inspirational story, let us hear from the team at Reach 52 how their platform, enabled by a network of agents and collaborative partnerships, have set an ambitious goal to reach 250 million users by year 2030 to provide a full range of health services in low connectivity markets. They want to achieve this scale through a WhatsApp service line, and in the next video, let us find out how.
Hi, I'm Rich Bryson at Reach 52. 52% of the world still can't access healthcare, so we're connecting them to the essential health services they need. We're doing that through our Reach 52 Access Health Tech platform, our networks of community agents, and partnerships with governments, the private sector, and non-profits to enable a full range of health services in low connectivity markets. We've got to target 1.5 million users this year with a vision for 250 million users on the platform in 2030. But we need a simple, accessible way to support our users with their health needs on an ongoing basis, and that's where WhatsApp comes in. Our WhatsApp service is central to all of this. It connects users to instant health advice on their mobile phone, but also all the on-the-ground services that we provide, putting accessible health services within your reach wherever you live on Earth. Let me show you a demo here. So if you click through, you can press 11 to get health information on a range of different conditions. You see hypertension. You can press 12 to get symptom checker advice based on your risk factors and symptoms, recommendations on what to do next, such as see a doctor. You can press 2 to go through to access and enroll in one of our community-based screenings for conditions like diabetes or hypertension. And then press 3 or 4 to access health products, either medicines or health insurance plans, and get a call back from one of our agents to make your order of one of the products. So it really is a fully integrated health service for our communities. You can go out and try it out for yourself through this QR code because we haven't got so much time now. So what's different about this? Well, it really is a health platform for markets that others don't reach across the world. It integrates the WhatsApp service with the Reach 52 Access platform and all our partnerships. So it's not just health advice, it's access to the screening, to the products and support on the ground. And that enables us to deliver a really scalable, sustainable impact on populations, both for our social return on investment, but also enabling United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 3. And the future is really exciting. It's about expansion of new services, such as vaccinations, new countries, post the India launch in Q4 this year, and new partnerships to utilize this service to deliver real impact. In the first half of 2022, our goal is to have 750,000 WhatsApp service users out of our total platform users, with big goals and visions for 2030. But most importantly, it's WhatsApp playing a critical role in the impact that we're going to be delivering through global healthcare on people's lives. Thank you.
As you can see, the WhatsApp service line designed by the Reach 52 team caters to a lot of medical advice already. They launched their platform in India this year, and we're excited to see how they will further expand with newer services, new geographies, and impactful public-private partnerships. Wasn't that inspiring and a perfect way to kick off our bootcamp session? I hope you're all as excited as we are.
Exciting use case indeed. Thanks, Jacqueline. Coming up next is a very interesting session on understanding what the rules of engagement are for the WhatsApp Business API, presented by Nielke Stadler, product lead for Turn.io. We will watch 3 videos and pause for questions between them.
Hi, my name is Nielke. I'm from the product team at Turn.io, and I'm going to help you understand the WhatsApp Business API. We will look at all the things you can and cannot do as an organization when you message your user. We will talk a lot about WhatsApp, so it's really important that we make sure we're on the same page when we say WhatsApp, because in fact, WhatsApp has 3 products in the ecosystem. The first one is what most of us have on our phone. It's called the consumer app. It's been around since 2009, and that's what we use when we send memes and voice notes to friends and family. Then, in 2018 at the start, WhatsApp launched a product for small businesses. This is known as the Business app. It's also linked to a SIM card. You use it on your phone, but you have a bit more functionality. Things like you can label contacts, or you can set up an out of office, and a few other simple automations. And then, towards the end of 2018, WhatsApp launched what is called the WhatsApp Business API. And this is their solution for medium to large businesses. The difference is that on the consumer app and the business app, you have to be on your phone online so that users can interact with you. But on the API, your service is available 24/7 and you can use automated messaging whether you're online or not. So when we talk about WhatsApp, we talk about the WhatsApp Business API, as that is what your organization will be using via Turn.io or another business service provider. On the Business API, there are 3 key policies that you should know about. The first one is that there is different messaging types. So we never think about message types when we message friends and family, but on the API, you will be thinking about types. We will deep dive into each of these in separate dedicated videos. For now, it's important to know that the different type of messaging is dependent on a time period, and that time period is 24 hours. So there's a certain type of message you send within 24 hours since a user has last messaged you, and then there's a different type of message you use after 24 hours has expired. The second policy that we want to look at is around user consent. When you send messages after 24 hours, you have to have user opt-in to receive messages. The golden rule is really that a user should always be in control of the conversation with your service. So, for that reason, you cannot just reach out and initiate conversation unless they've explicitly opted in and said yes, they want to get messages from you. And then our third and last policy is around a clear escalation path to a human. Now, what does that mean? Simply, you will have users getting stuck on your service, you will have users with very complicated and complex queries, and they will have a desire to connect with a human. And although you can use automated messaging on your service, users should always know where can they find another human. We will deep dive into these, so for now, let's recap. There are 3 products within the WhatsApp ecosystem, and we are focusing on the WhatsApp Business API. That is the solution for medium to large businesses. And then when we talk about the API, there are 3 key things you need to take into account. The one is that there's different messaging types. The other one is that you need user consent or opt-in to initiate conversation with users. And then lastly, you need a clear escalation path to a human so that your users always feel they know where to get help and they never feel stuck or lost. Great. We will continue in this series and we will deep dive into all these elements and you will learn alongside. Thank you for watching along. I'm going to chat you through templates, also known as notification, and everything you need to know on how to use them on the WhatsApp Business API. It's really around how can you open and initiate conversation with your users. First thing, there's different type of messages on the WhatsApp Business API. The first type is called session messages. This is used to reply to users within 24 hours. It's free form, you can send anything, you can send media, you can send audio files, and the aim is to drive swift customer response. Then the second type is templates. It's also known as notification, and this is the type of message you use outside the 24-hour window period. So if the last message from a user has been more than 24 hours ago, you have to use a message template. A message template has a highly structured format and you also pay to send these. So let's look at an example. In the screen that you see, the first message is from the user. This means the user initiated the conversation and is really what WhatsApp wants. The user should always be in the driving seat of any engagement with your service. But then you didn't get to responding to the user within 24 hours. And the only way you can do that now is by using a template. We'll look at the structure of templates, but you can personalize a template so that it makes sense to the user within their context. Should the user reply to your template, it opens the 24-hour window again and you can respond with session messages. Session messages is easy to use, you can reply with anything, and at the moment it costs you nothing. It is important to note that WhatsApp is looking at different pricing models, so there might be changes in the future in session messages being free and template messages being paid for. But as for today, you won't pay for session messages. So the big thing around a template, because it has seen that you use it after 24 hours and you initiate conversations, the key thing is that your user should expect your message. So have they opted in to receiving messages from your organization on WhatsApp? The second thing is that your template should be timely. It should refer to an engagement not too long ago, or it should be within a specific requested cadence, such as a weekly recommendation, for example. And then thirdly, your template should be relevant. It should be personalized, it should have useful information for the user, and there should be a clear call to action for the user to act on and respond to you again. Okay, we've already touched on that you need opt-in and consent, and we will, in fact, this is so important that we're going to look at it in a separate dedicated video. The next thing you need to know is that you need to plan in advance. Your template will get submitted to WhatsApp and they have to approve it, they read it, they decide if it's within policy and if you followed all the formatting rules, etc. So plan 2 to 3 days at the moment. Because you guys work in the social impact space and most of the use cases that they are familiar with is within the commercial space, it does sometimes take longer. But roughly, let's say that you should plan for 2 to 3 days to get approvals. Then it's important to know that you cannot edit a template message. So once it's been submitted, you cannot make changes. But if you need to make changes, or maybe your template did not get approved and you in any case have to tweak it, it means you will just resubmit a new one. But that is important to note that you need to take time to craft and design your templates. Then, personalization is key. Templates give you the ability to use a placeholder. Think of a placeholder, for example, as a name. So in your template, you will have hi placeholder. And that placeholder, when you send the message, you will fill in the user's name. The more personalization you use, the higher the chances of getting your template approved. In the end, every user wants messaging that's customized for their problems and customized to their circumstances. Then language. It's important to know that session messages can be in almost any language in the world, but template messages is subject to a specific approved list. In South Africa, for example, although we have 11 official languages, only 3 of them are available on the message template language list. The great thing is that you can submit the same template in multiple languages. You are responsible for the translation, but you can use the same message template name and then you submit the various translations for that. And then lastly, your message will belong, it will sit within predefined category list. So WhatsApp has, I think to date, it's 11 categories and your template needs to fit into one of those categories. Once again, as an impact organization, there's probably 2 categories that's the easiest to work with, one being alert update and one being issue resolution. But we will look and I'll show you the full list now and you can work within that. All of that being said, let's zoom into what a template looks like. This is an example of a template without a media file, but take note, you are allowed to send media in templates. In the top, you will see this is what it looks like in turn. You will see the status, is it approved or rejected by WhatsApp? If it is rejected, you will also get a rejection reason from them. Then you see alert update. That is the category that you've selected. Remember, it's a predefined list and to date there's 11 categories that you can select from. Next, you see issue resolution 2. So that is the name that I've given to my template. You will note that it's lowercase, there's no spaces. And then you see the template body or the template content. You will note double curly brackets with a 1 and a double curly brackets with a 2. That is what we call placeholders. And you will see the first one is hi placeholders. So there I can fill in the name of the user when I send the template. Hi Nilke. And then I'm saying it's placeholder year. Hi Nilke, it's Joan year. So those things make it more personalized. And then at the bottom you will see language, and that is what we've touched on. There's a predefined list of languages that your template can be in. So that's the bulk of it. If you add media, you will also upload a placeholder for media, and in that case, and also today in turn, you will always submit a sample of your placeholder. That helps the WhatsApp team make sense of your template as it will look in action, and especially around media, they can see the type of media you intend to send with your template. Lastly, let's have a brief look at the template categories. You will see categories like account update or alert update. There's stuff around appointments. There's an auto reply, there's stuff around ticket updates. So very much commercially driven and very much transactional driven. Recently, maybe in the middle of 2021, WhatsApp removed the constraint that templates have to be transactional. But for a very long time, they were very, very strict on templates not being promotional, templates not sending like a weekly type messaging. This constraint has been lifted and it's really exciting. But this is what we will touch on in our next video, where we look at quality and user consent, and really how do you make sure that the user experience is always a two-way engaging experience and not just a one-way business blasting messages. That's the least thing any of us want. We really want quality engagement from any organization or business that we chat to.
Great. Hi everyone, my name is Nielke Stadler. I'm from the Turn.io team, and I'm happy to spend some time with you, although we've just met virtually on the video. I'm going to look at and answer some of the questions that you submitted to the Q&A, specifically on templates. You guys are welcome to add more. So let's go through. There were a few great questions. So I'm going to ask around session messages and predefining those. And yes, in turn, you will be able to upload content that you can make available through automation, or your team can send them in a custom manner. And in that way, you can predefine or have content available that helps with fast replies. And it also helps just with consistency in the way that you communicate. So yes, you can definitely predefine session messages and make it available for users. Then there was a question, what happens if you send a template message, but within the 24 hours? And rightly answered that with any message sent within 24 hours is not charged for at the moment. So whether you're sending a session message or you're sending a notification, you won't be charged for sending those. And then there was a question around opt-in and if you can see it and what happens if you're doing these things on a large scale. So you can collect opt-in and you can save it against the user profile. And because the data is saved, you will also be able to use it as a condition when you do larger send. So yes, you can see it in the profile if you engage with the user one-on-one, but because you save the information, you will also be able to use that data point when sending messages. And then let me see if I missed another one. Oh, I see there's more coming in. Is there any way to see how many users have blocked our business? We are going to look at quality, so I'll answer some of that there. You won't know who blocked you and you won't know how many, but you will have indication if your line is flagged or the overall perceived quality of your line. And then there's, just want to see, there's some that's already answered. Let me go back. There was a question if session messages is handled automatically or by human, and you have an option. You can either set up automation to send messages like based on a menu type navigation from the user end, but you are also able to type a custom response or even send a preloaded piece of content. And then there's a question around the character restriction of templates. There's around 4,000 characters. So there are a few things with templates. There's small things you can do, like you can have a bolded heading and you can have like a grayed out footer. But what we've done in turn is when you submit a template, those restrictions are made available as you set up your template. So no real need to remember all the limitations. What we can see is, and Pippa will do a session later today on best practice, but often the top end of your limited characters for a message isn't necessarily the amount that you should send, meaning that people prefer to read shorter pieces of content often, especially on a platform like WhatsApp. But we're going to move on to our next video. We'll continue to answer questions that's still open, and we'll have another break of the video that we will be watching just now. So we'll chat again.
Towards the second part of 2021, WhatsApp started to allow more use cases via templates. This is very exciting because for a long time, organizations were only allowed to do transactional notifications. But now you are allowed to do notifications across the full user journey, including more promotional type notifications. But as we all know, with great opportunity comes great responsibility. Since the start, it has been a key policy of WhatsApp that businesses need to get user consent to initiate messages. So as WhatsApp allows businesses to do more on the API or via the API, it becomes increasingly more important to make sure your users remain in the driving seat of conversations with your service. Think about the last time you messaged a friend on WhatsApp. Maybe you invited them for coffee, or you were making plans to go and see a concert. Regardless of the contents of the message, because you are friends, it's not unusual for them to get a message from you. They expect it. And what's more, because you know them, you share information that's relevant to them based on the stuff that you know that they like and they love and they're interested in. So as a result, this conversation has 3 characteristics. 1, it's expected. 2, it's timely. And 3, it's relevant. Ultimately, that's the trio of characteristics that solidifies trust between you and your friend and signals to both parties that it's a high-value conversation. So how does this work in a business context? How do you signal to your users that your communication is also of high value to them? We will use the same 3 characteristics to evaluate your messaging flow and sequences in WhatsApp. Firstly, ensure that your conversation is expected. A question to check with yourself. Have the recipients of your message opted in to receive this information from you on WhatsApp? If yes, fantastic, go ahead and chat to them. If no, don't send an outreach message if they haven't opted in. This will just upset the user and feel like you are violating their privacy. The second rule, make sure the communication is timely. Ensure that it is connected to a recent engagement or maybe something that they requested at a specific cadence. Think about it as a seasonal or a recurring event related to previous engagement. Or maybe it's about a question they recently asked you. Number 3, make sure you share relevant information. Question to check with yourself. Are you sharing personalized information with the user that's based on previous discussions? Examples could be additional information related to a question and more answers that you have to offer at this stage. Or maybe it's around usage tips or new content on a related service that you have available. If your users receive your engagement as spammy, they will be able to block or report your service. And this will ultimately influence your quality rating of your service. And WhatsApp reference something called a quality rating. So let's talk about quality for a moment. Organizations that want to continue to use the WhatsApp Business API must maintain the quality rating over time. Maintaining your quality rating really is a commitment to the more than 2 billion users around the world. Tell them that you value the opportunity to connect with them through this highly targeted and personal medium of messaging. So what goes into a quality rating? WhatsApp takes into account how many messages you've been received, and how many messages you have sent to recipients over the past 7 days. And this is weighted by recency. They use a combination of quality results from conversations between organizations and users. They include user feedback such as blocks and reports and the reasons users provide when they block a business. So it's critical that you prioritize creating high quality outreach conversations based on the fact that they should be expected, they should be timely, and they should be relevant. You can think of this as the ETR framework and really check any outbound business initiated messaging against is it expected, is it timely for the user, and is it relevant to them. So the best way to maintain your quality rating over time? It doesn't need to be a mystery. To keep your rating in the green zone, make sure you prioritize the following. Only send messages to users who've opted in to receive that specific message from your business. Craft the messages to follow the ETR framework. Avoid sending open-ended, welcome or introductory messages. And be mindful of how frequently you communicate. Be 100% sure your messages follow and stick to the WhatsApp commerce and business policies. So we've chatted a lot about opt-in, and now I want us to look at the detail. People want messages from their favorite organizations across their journey, but they want it in a fashion that builds a long-lasting relationship and makes sure that the foundation of trust is very strong. There's no quicker way to violate the trust of more than 2 billion people than to send unwanted messaging. That will make a user feel violated in their privacy, and it will really just plainly annoy them. So what's the rule around collecting opt-in? First thing, be very specific about the content. Think about this. If I am happy to get a follow-up, it doesn't mean that I'm happy to get a marketing outreach message. So be clear about the type of content. If I have a health condition, I might be happy to get information on my specific health condition, but I don't just want to get information around stuff that I feel doesn't apply to me. Be very clear on who will be sending these messages. When a user opt-in, state your organization name who will send these messages to them. And thirdly, you have to stay within the applicable law. The great thing is you can collect consent wherever it makes the most sense for users. Examples would be in WhatsApp. So if the first time they reach out to you, you can already check with them that they would be happy to receive information from your organization on a specific topic. You can also get consent for WhatsApp on your website. You can do it over IVR, you can do it over SMS, you can even do it in person. So it really doesn't matter, but it does matter that you get it. The best practice for consent: users should expect the messages they receive. And that expectation is best obtained by a clear opt-in. Make sure that you communicate value and the importance of receiving the updates on WhatsApp, and avoid messaging them too frequent. Make sure that you provide them a way to opt out and that you honor these requests. And lastly, monitor your quality rating to evaluate any opt-in processes and adjust your opt-in process if your users doesn't find it informative and helpful. The key, as stated before, is to remember that people should be in control when they message organizations on WhatsApp. WhatsApp empowers people by giving them the ability to block your service, and once your service gets blocked or reported often, your quality rating will drop, and WhatsApp will limit the amount of messages you can send outbound. So it's key that you pay attention to it. But it's really also, if you put your user first, these things doesn't matter, and you will love designing a journey that your user finds thoughtful and valuable to them.
Great. So that was a whole bunch of information on quality conversations. Just to let you guys know, we will make the recordings available. We also have a platform, learn.turn.io. We will get lots of answers to questions you have. I'm actually going to, there's a few questions, Hikma, that if you can maybe respond to those in translation.
Yes, there's one question from Ms. Ulfa Kasim. Our organization has used WhatsApp Business so that women can report on any cases regarding the violence against women. And now we currently have registered in WhatsApp for Business. So if we want to use this, can we actually transfer or to WhatsApp for Business easily? So yes, that's basically the question, the first question.
Great. So the session after this is going to be everything around how you get started on the API, and Indrani and Lisa will take you through if you can use a number or not. But in short, you will use a new number on the API. You cannot use a number that's already been used on the apps, but there's ways that there's ways to do these things, and we'll chat about that in detail in the onboarding.
Yes, and the next question is from Pak Tio Mutar, and the question is whether they can integrate WhatsApp API to customize their own application. So I believe that they want to have their own application and they want to develop it in the long term. Maybe they don't have it at the moment, and so it can be a mobile app or web app. So if it is possible, is there any requirements or any rules to use this API?
Yeah, so because it is APIs, you can use it to connect with other systems. If you sign up with Turn, you will have access both to the user interface, so a non-technical team can set up services, but you will also have access to the APIs. And then depending on what each API gives, you can go through that. So there will be training that you guys are welcome to join. And yeah, we'll still share where you can come and deep dive into all these technical questions as the day progresses. But yes, in essence, you can use the API to integrate with other systems.
There's one last question from Mr. Rahmat Kurniawan. In the examples that you mentioned earlier on the presentation around the template, it says hi and then the placeholder. Does it mean that this name must be stored in our contact address or in address book first before we can actually use this template?
That's a great question. So there's two ways. If you do it manually, you can obviously just fill in a name, or you can maybe, I don't know, insert a smiley if you don't have the name. But in essence, if you want to programmatically fill in a placeholder, you will need to specify the field. So you'll need to think through what your placeholders will be and how you will send it. But you will be in control of completing that placeholder. So you can decide if it's a field that you save against a profile, or if it's something that you insert a new text field, etc. I see there's still a whole bunch of questions open. We're going to continue answering them in the Q&A section, and we will be watching our last video together on this topic.
The third policy around escalating to a human. I've themed this Help, I Need a Human because all of us ultimately wants to be helped, and we love getting helped by another person. We're talking about chat services, and on the API we can automate, and we can use automation to take care of certain tasks. This is great, and this is super important because it helps us with quick and timely responses to our users. Automation will take care of simple and specific tasks, and you can set up automated answers to frequently asked questions, ultimately really freeing up the time of your team to take care of complex user questions and queries. This is exciting, and it gives your team capacity to focus on the right stuff. However, regardless of all the technology and all the great things that artificial intelligence and machine learning can do, there will be times when your service cannot answer your users, and you need to plan for these occasions. The key thing is that WhatsApp and your organization does not want users to feel stuck and unhelped. It's hard for automated services to understand all kinds of human interaction, and we need to think and design for this upfront. So what is in the WhatsApp policy around human escalation? They say you need a clear and a direct path to a human. The rationale behind it is that every user should get resolutions to their inquiries. Now, what does this mean when you implement it? If you have an automated service and your user gets stuck or have the desire to chat to another human being, they should know where to find a user. Yes, they can be able to reach an operator or a team member on your service, but that is not the only way for human escalation. So the one is there can be a human agent handoff, but you can also provide them with a phone number or an email address, or push them to web support if you want to. Basically somewhere where they can find a human. In certain cases, if you have a physical office or you offer physical services, you can also direct them to that location. It's just that they should not feel stuck in a loop with the only ability to talk to a machine. Remember that WhatsApp can review chat services or chatbots retrospectively, and if they are not happy with the service, they can rate limit you. Rate limiting basically means that they limit the ability you have to reach out to users and send messages on the API. Let's conclude by thinking about key questions you should think about when designing your service. You need to think, what conversational triggers do you need for human escalation? Maybe there's a specific menu item that your users can say that they need to speak to a human. Other questions to think about is what use cases or what context will ask for a user quicker. Think through those scenarios and design your user and your message flows to take care of it. You should also think about the context that's needed when human handover happen. How does the agent or the person or the operator knows the conversation that is taken up front? And then lastly, what happens after hours? Who takes care of those resolutions? Plan for and design for it. Your users will get stuck. There will be a happy path, but there will also be an unhappy path. And you just need to think about it. At Turn, we help you by always providing the full context, and when your operators take over from automation, they can see all the interaction that has happened. But put on your user hat and think about the best user experience you can design to help those in need.
Great. I just want to say I love seeing all the questions that you guys have. I'm going to touch on a few of them as the team continues to answer them. There's been a whole bunch of questions around media, and for the most part, you can use audio, images, PDFs, all 4 types in your session messages, and there's restrictions around the sizing. We'll make some links available in the Q&A. And then there's similar rules applying to your using media in a template. There's also been questions around groups. Just one thing to note, that groups is not available on the API. So that's something that you need to be aware of, specifically if you've been maybe using the business app and you've set up groups. Like we know often education use cases do operate very well on groups, and that's something to be clear about, because you might need a different strategy. And then there was also question around, but the fact that you need consent, how do you use this for more activist type services? And the big thing is to, I think about it this way, that there's 2 billion people on WhatsApp, and they've created a phenomenal network of people, but you need to use that cleverly so that WhatsApp doesn't become a channel of spam where all the information is just ignored by users. So the key thing is really to say, how do we use such a valuable channel, and we protect it and we use it wisely, and we always put the user first. And therefore, stuff like consent and making sure people are expecting messages is the best way. There's also questions on keywords and triggers, and I think a lot more will make sense as we go through the bootcamp today. So there's going to be on how do you start on the API, and then there's also going to be basic training of what does these things look like in turn. So how do I get a menu to and send automated responses? So I think you guys will still get some questions answered as the day progress. Let me quickly scan here. And then there's some that Hikmat is still translating for us, and we'll continue to answer them. I want to say thank you. I really enjoy the engagement and all the questions, and keep them coming. Most of the sessions today, you can always continue to add questions. We'll make the resources available, but if you're interested, look at learn.turn.io. You'll also find it from our website, turn.io, and there's a wealth of resources where you'll get all these answers, answers to all these questions that you guys have been adding. Enjoy the rest of your day, and have fun.
Thanks, Neelka. That was a super interactive session. So keep the questions coming, and even during the breaks, our team is on standby to answer your questions. So let's take a quick 5-minute break now. Grab a cup of chai or coffee, stretch your legs, and enjoy your break. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back. I hope you had a good break and managed to grab a cup of chai or coffee. Continuing with the inspirational stories, we shall now hear from the COVID Asha team in India. During the COVID second wave, they came together to volunteer the time to help build a large network of volunteers across Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities in India. There was a severe shortage of life-saving equipment at that time. Here's a story of how they use WhatsApp service line to meet the demand.
The second wave of COVID really gripped India. To see people rushing from pillar to post to look for resources, It's not a situation anybody should be in. None of us should go through this. Hi, I'm Alicia Maria Lobo, and I'm one of the co-founders of COVID Asha. I started this with Krishna Tyagi and Tamakna Basu. Hey Alicia, how can I be a part of this? We were just strangers who had come together.
I really want to help, and I can volunteer my time to help people.
So what we would do is go to Facebook, go to our own WhatsApps, take a look at what people were asking for, oxygen, medicines, ambulances, beds, and we started trying to match that with the people who actually had these resources. So maybe somebody was at a particular hospital in Delhi and said, hey, I know that beds are available here. Or somebody else would be in Bangalore saying, I know that this person has oxygen. I think the first 3 nights, the 3 of us did not sleep. Within about 24 hours, we were at 500 people and then 1,000, and it just kept building. And we realized that this is simply not scalable.
I think the solution would be to build a chatbot.
That's a great idea. It can also share verified information.
It was when our chatbot was rolled out on WhatsApp, we fielded over 2,000 requests per day for oxygen supplies, medicines, and ambulances. Obviously, because more people have WhatsApp, it's easier to forward a message. It is easier for people to then just open it up within the application itself and then chat with the bot. I could not have pulled this off if it was just me. It had to be the power of all of us coming together to fight this.
This bot fielded requests from over 55 cities in India during the peak of the second wave. The COVID Asha team and their army of dedicated volunteers continues to the day to make sure that the information shared is relevant and reliable to those who access this service for help. They are currently in talks to expand their services to rural areas in India, where quality healthcare is needed the most. This is a great example of how an organization can scale overnight to meet the demands from their beneficiaries.
That is an inspiring use case. Thanks, Nikhil. Next up, I'd like to introduce Lisa Langford, Global Partnerships Head at Turn.io. She will dive into a bit more detail on how to set up the WhatsApp business application and the sandbox account.
Hello, my name is Lisa Langford, and I'm the Global Partnership Lead for Turn.io. Today, I'll be helping you to onboard onto the WhatsApp Business API. Before we get started, let me explain to you the ecosystem of how the API works together with partners. Think of it as a motorway, where it takes you from the one side as an organization to connect to your end users. But to access the motorway, you do require a car or a vehicle to get from point A to B. And that's where a business service provider comes in. In this case, Turn is an authorized business service provider, but there are many business service providers that you can access the WhatsApp Business API. Let's look at the 4 easy steps to get signed up to the Business API. First, you need to sign up with a business service provider, in this case, Turn.io. Then you need to get the number that you want to use for your service. Thereafter, you need to register for a WhatsApp Business account. You will need a verified Facebook Business Manager ID for this. And then lastly, you need to choose your subscription plan. To sign up to Turn.io, you need to create an organizational account. We recommend that you nominate 1 team member to set up this process. You only need to set 1 organizational account per organization. You need to accept the terms and conditions by clicking the accept button. And then lastly, you can invite many team members to join you on your account. Now it's time to get your WhatsApp business number. We will provide you with a free US-based number to get you started. However, you are able to choose a country-specific, vanity, or your own number, but please keep in mind there are some pricing implications to those options. Now it's time to register for your WhatsApp Business account. We often refer to it as a WABA account. You will need to create that, and for that, you will require a WhatsApp Business profile. Then you need to verify your WhatsApp Business number, and you need to get your business verification from Facebook. We've created an easy checklist for you to go through when creating a WhatsApp Business account. Firstly, you'll need to log into your personal Facebook account. Then you need to access your organization's Facebook Business Manager account or have permission to do so. Keep in mind, this is not your Facebook page, but this is your Facebook Business Manager account that runs as an engine underneath all your products that you are using with Facebook. Then you need to complete your business information. There are going to be a few items that is required: your business legal name, your business phone number, website, country, and address. Then you would need to choose a name for your service. We recommend that your name is as closely linked to your organization and your Facebook Business Manager account. We have some great documentation to share on what names are permitted on the API and what names are not. Then you need to complete your business information and then the number that we will provide for you to complete your WhatsApp business account. As part of the verification process, we will need to verify the number, and that is the number that we will have provided for you. You will go through the process on the Turn user interface. When you get to the point where you need to verify the number, please make sure that you choose voice call and not text message. That will help you verify the process a lot quicker. This might happen either in a pop-up modal or in a separate tab, so keep an eye out for that Facebook pop-up. The Facebook verification process happens outside of the Turn user interface. You will receive an email with instructions from Facebook where you will be requested to complete that. You can start your verification at any time, but keep in mind that you have 30 days to complete all the business verification, including submission of the documentation when your service is set up. You cannot go live without this process, unfortunately. Your last step in getting a WhatsApp business account is to choose a subscription plan. The first step is to complete your credit card details, and then you can choose the plan that's applicable to you based on monthly active users. The good news is, for this bootcamp, we will provide you with a free subsidized license for the first 6 months of your service. Then you'll be able to add your license thereafter. We will now be watching a quick video to take you through the very detailed steps on how to set up a WhatsApp business account.
I'm going to show you how to sign up for the WhatsApp Business API using Turn.io. Firstly, we'll need some basic organizational information from you so that we can create an account for your organization on Turn. This was just around your impact area, your organization name, and your website or a public profile so that we can make sure you are an impact organization. You will continue to sign in with your Google email. It doesn't have to be Gmail. It can also be something like our Turn.io addresses that are Google backed. Next, you need to read and accept our terms of service. Please note that the full agreement and all the subsequent addendums are available on our website always. It's important that you read this and that you familiarize yourself with the full agreement. After you accept, you will have the opportunity to invite your team members to the account. This means that they can help you complete the application, and when you start building and designing your service, you will all work on the same account. Team members will get an email that will prompt them to log in to Turn. Next up, we're going to ask a few questions to make sure you have the number you want for your WhatsApp service. Firstly, you need to tell us if you need a number or if you have a number. Please note, if you provide your own number, that there's specific requirements that you need to adhere to. We strongly recommend that we provide the number for you so that you are sure that the number will work at all times. If you need a number from us, you have two options. The first one is a +1 number. It's instantly available and it's on the basic plan. If you need a country specific or a vanity number, you will need to provide us with a bit more information, and there's also a waiting period of 2 to 3 days so that we can get the number for you, and it will be available on the Pro plan only. Let's say we want a +1 number, and on the fly the number is generated for you. So this is the number for your service on WhatsApp. Now we are ready to register for the WhatsApp Business API. This part of the process happens with Facebook and WhatsApp. They need to make sure that you are a business and that they are happy to register you and give you access to the WhatsApp Business API. If I click register now and I start my application, you will see that there is a new tab opening. Everything happening on this tab happens with Facebook, and it's information that you provide to them, and they set up a WhatsApp business account for you, and you will add your WhatsApp number and your service line there. Do note that certain browsers and certain computers will not open in a new tab, but would rather pop up a modal. If you don't see the modal pop up, sometimes you need to minimize your window a little bit so that you can see it. I'm going to continue, and here you see that you will have 3 steps to complete with Facebook. These steps is firstly to create a Facebook business account as well as a WhatsApp business account. The short phrase that we use for a WhatsApp business account is a WABA, and I'm just mentioning it because you might hear us talk about a WABA. Once you have your Facebook and your WhatsApp business accounts, you will start creating your WhatsApp business profile. That is largely around the display name of your service on WhatsApp, and then you will also make sure that the number that you use for your service is verified and ready to use. So let's get started. You have to set up your account. If you don't have a Facebook business account yet, or you need to create a new one, you will select Create New Facebook Account. You will be prompted to enter your legal information like your business name, your contact phone numbers for the business, your website, your email address. If you proceed to the next screen, it will be around your location and your addresses, etc. I, however, will go back and use one of my existing Facebook business accounts. Now you have a Facebook business account, but you also need a WhatsApp business account. If you create a new WhatsApp business account, I also cannot do that. Let's select my existing one. And my account is set up. So you will see now I have a Facebook business account and I have a WhatsApp business account. And I'm going to continue to the next step with Facebook, which is around my WhatsApp business profile. I can create or use a new or an existing one. Let's create a new one so you guys can see what is needed. Here I'm selecting my WhatsApp business display name. It's important because this is the name that you want to show to users on WhatsApp. It's even more important to know that Facebook has specific rules and guidelines around what you can and cannot use for your display name. So you can familiarize yourself with what they allow and what they don't allow. But this name is something that they will approve or reject. So as much as you need to make sure that you're happy with the name, it's more important to do it within their guidelines. I'm going to say that I'm in the education vertical. And once my business profile for WhatsApp is ready, I will continue to step 3. Now, step 3 is around registering your number on WhatsApp. And if I talk about this number, it's the one that we've just provisioned to you. You will also have received an email from us, and your email will also have the number in case you're not sure where to find it. So I'm pasting my number in there, and now you will see that I'm prompted to select a verification method. It is very, very important that you select voice call for this. What Facebook is doing with the verification is they're making sure that you've got access to the number. So they make sure that whatever number you provided, that they verify it by sending you a code. The reason you had to select voice call is because we've set it up that you will indeed get the voice recording with a verification code so that you can insert it. It will take a little while to arrive, so just be patient and don't start to worry. Once the audio file arrives, you will see the spinner. There we go, change into an audio file. If you press play, the verification code will be read out. Do not worry, it will be read repeatedly, so you will be easy to hear it.
Your verification code is 261188. Your verification code is 261188.
So now we have the verification code, and I'm going to click Verified. This is the last of the 3 steps that Facebook wanted us to do, and you can see that they give you a little bit of information around limited numbers of messages that you have, and very importantly, that you still need to continue to do business verification from them. If everything up to this point happens smoothly and you click OK, the tab will close, the pop-up modal will close, and they will compile your information and then share it with us. It takes a little bit of time for them to share the information with us, and we will just wait until that is complete. It is important to know that although you've done through the first 3 steps with them, they still require you to do business verification, which is around making sure that the business you've registered exists, but more about that later. Okay, and we see something is happening. Your organization's account was successfully connected. Do note that your account still pens approval with WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is still going to investigate your Facebook business. They're still going to look at your WhatsApp business account. They're going to look at your display name that you've selected. And on all of that, if there's anything they want you to change, they will give you feedback and you will be able to update it according to their request. If you click continue, the last step you have with us is to buy a plan. You will be guided to the plan that applies to you, and you'll be prompted to complete your card number and your name and your expiry date, etc. I'm not going to go through this process due to security with credit cards and me sharing my details with you guys, but I'm going to pause here, and once you've completed the setup, you will land back on the Turn dashboard and you will be ready to build your service.
I hope that video has been really helpful to get an understanding of how to set up a WhatsApp business account. We now will be going into a working session where you get to try setting up the service yourself. We've got the team on standby, so if you need any help, just pop a question in the Q&A or in the chat window, and we are able to help you with that. So to get started, you need to sign up via turn.io with the link that is currently provided. Choose a number for your service, register with the WhatsApp Business API, and choose your subscription plan. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I hope that video has been helpful for you to get an understanding on how to get onboarded onto the API. There's a few questions that I see in the chat window that I'll start answering in the meantime. While I'm answering, you'll see also that the link has been shared, and it will be shared in the chat window as well for you to start signing up to the API. In the meantime, let me answer these questions. So here's a question from Shogun saying, what if we don't have a website? That's a really good question. We recommend that you start the process. A website's not required as part of the verification process, but WhatsApp will use it when they are checking your display name and your business verification. So the quicker you can get that up, the better. Another question, will this video be available later? Absolutely. All videos, as we mentioned earlier, will be available in the community forum on request. Then here's a question regarding WhatsApp groups. So Wrong is using WhatsApp group currently to communicate with the end users. As you're aware, that WhatsApp groups is currently not supported on the API, but we've got some recommendations how you can work around that using concepts like ambassadors or community workers. But we do want to point out that the API allows you to do secure one-to-one communication. And we find from our experience that is the best way to drive deep user engagement. The API also allows you to work together as a team and think about scale. Currently, groups do have some limitations in terms of growing that and supporting it, of course, as a team. Let me have a look if there's any other questions. Currently, let's see here. Oh, that's a really good question. What is the pros and cons of having a local country-based number versus an auto-generated number by us? If you want to use a local number of your own, absolutely doable. The more important thing is to consider and remember that you are responsible for that number. That means that you need to make sure that number is always available. So if you sign it up with your mobile operator, that account is always paid and looked after. Where if we provide you with a number, that responsibility is with us, and there's no cost involved to providing you a number through Turn. So that is one option that you can consider. Talking about cost, as part of this bootcamp, we at Turn and WhatsApp is offering you a free 6-month license on Turn to allow you to test out the WhatsApp Business API and to get started. So the US number that we've provided for you, all the training and onboarding onto the API is all covered in that. And that will allow you to start engaging with your end users as soon as possible. Just having a look and see if there's more questions from us this side. I think that's all the questions. Please continue to, here's another one. And then there will be there's a translated one. So please continue to ask your questions while trying out the URL. We will be going into another session that will talk about the business verification. But before that, is it possible to change the US number to a local one at a later time? Unfortunately not. The way it works is that the number that you sign up with is that connected to your WhatsApp business account, but you can always add another one to that. So think of your WhatsApp business account as your main account, where you can add multiple numbers if required. So you can have a US number, you can have a regional number, but once a number is connected with the business display name, that unfortunately can't change. I hope that answers your question. Let's see if there's any other questions before we move on. So here's a question. So if a foundation wants to adopt Turn, how many people must operate at initial stage? What are the technical requirements and specifications? That's a really good question. So think of Turn as a team inbox to access the API. You can start just by yourself, but we always recommend working together with a team. It's always better to work with your team members. And there's no limit in how many team members you want to add. It is a web-based platform at this stage, so best to use it on your desktop. I'm just thinking, other than that, there's no other requirements. So it's very easy to access it. You do require a Gmail or Google-backed account to sign up for that. So those are the mere considerations you've got to take into account. For the operator stated in a number, what background or knowledge is required? Programming knowledge. Well, the good news is Turn is a no-code platform, so you do not have to be an engineer to use Turn. We recommend that when you start thinking about designing your service, it would be good for the team to get together with thinking cap around content and what is the message or the conversations you want to have with your end users. So typically a programmatic team that has a clear idea of the messaging that you want to share with your end users. That's a good start. And then after that, once you've designed your service and built it on Turn, we would recommend a community manager or somebody that can keep engaging with your end users. And then is there a question on, is Turn a dashboard drag and drop at this stage? No, it's not. Manish, our community manager, will be taking through a detailed demo on Turn. So I'm going to leave those questions for you on that. And then also around templates, we'll talk about how to do that within the product. And then, yeah, so I think here's another question. So this is the question around involves refugee management in Indonesia. So they come from different countries, but speak different languages. Do you have any features translating messages? So Turn and API does not do the translation, but we do support all languages. So if you have the content that you have available in different languages, you can absolutely use that on Turn in the API. It's always important that obviously your team has a good understanding of the languages to support your end users. So the translation of content sits with you the same way that the content will be your responsibility. Yes, I think for now, we're going to move on to the next session that Indrani will be taking us through to Facebook Business Manager verification.
Hi, everyone. I'm Indrani Vedula, and I'm the Impact Partnerships Lead for Asia-Pac and India at Turn.io. Over the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about Facebook's Business Manager verification process and the steps to follow to get your organization verified. This is a required step to get access to the WhatsApp Business API. So let's get started. People want to engage with businesses that are authentic and trustworthy. In order to help them do this, Facebook needs any organization that is trying to set up a WhatsApp business API to complete the business verification process. The BM verification process is a one-time process and is a requirement to get fully onboarded and go live with the WhatsApp service line. After completing your WABA application, you will have 30 days to complete your verification. Facebook will send you reminders intermittently to complete the BM verification process. To verify your business, Facebook may require you to submit copies of your official documentation, such as Certificate of Incorporation or a business license. They also check that you have access to the business or website domain as legal employee. If you do not have the supporting documents and do not fill in the forms accurately, the process of getting verified may take longer than anticipated. To get verified, we use a free tool called the Facebook Business Manager. Some of you may be familiar with this tool already and may be using this tool to organize and manage your Facebook ad accounts and pages. The verification process checks on two things. One, authenticity. Is the organization represented legally registered? And two, association. Is the person requesting verification legally working for the organization? Make sure that you are the admin on the Facebook page of your organization. Only a person with admin rights to the page can set up a BM account for the page and verify. We are almost ready to get started with the BM verification process. Before you proceed, make sure you have the correct documents of proof for address and legal name of organization. Currently, only documents in the languages listed in the table are supported. If your proof documents are in a language that is not listed, kindly get them translated before loading. There is a whole list of acceptable documents broken down by country that is available on the Facebook support page. Here are some examples of what organizations have previously used to submit as documents of proof: business license, certificate of incorporation, utility bill such as water, electricity, or phone, business bank statement, business tax certificate, and articles of incorporation. Once you have your documents of proof ready, please make sure to name the files with the name of the organization and the type of document they are. For example, turn.io_ certificate of incorporation. A quick pro tip is to highlight the details before uploading, such as the name of the organization and the address on the document. After completing your WABA application, you will receive an email in your inbox from Facebook. The email will have a button that prompts you to start your verification process. See the screenshot on the top right. If you did not receive the email, please note that the WABA application may still be under process. Alternatively, you can visit business.facebook.com after logging into your Facebook account. You will see the Business Manager account that you created there. Upon clicking the Business Manager account, you will land on this page. Next, click on the drop-down box to view the different business accounts. Select the one that we are going to verify, in this case, Amazing Asia. You will be directed to the Business Manager for Amazing Asia. Click on Business Settings. This will bring you to the Business Info page. You can also select the Business Info page from the menu on your left. All the details you filled into the WABA application will be pre-filled in this section. Notice that your business verification status says Unverified. Click on View Details to be directed to the Security Center page where you will find the Start Verification button in blue. Click the Start Verification button. You will be taken to the Business Manager form with pre-filled values of your legally registered name, country, address details, and phone number. Review to make sure that these details match exactly with those on your proof documents. Click Next to continue. In this section of the form, you will need to submit documents to verify the legal name of your organization. You will find a list of acceptable documents here. Please select the language of the document and then upload the file from your folder. Notice that I have renamed the file to indicate what type of document it is that I am uploading. After document is loaded, click Next. We're now in the section where we can verify business address or phone number. Check the details once more to make sure that your proof document has the exact match of address. Once again, using one of the acceptable document proofs, upload the file. Please note, if a single proof document has both legal name and address, you can use the same proof document in both the sections. Click Next to choose a verification method. I'm going to select my business address here. It may be faster to get verified by using an email address that is associated with your website's domain. Click on Send Email. Check your inbox next to look for an email from Facebook. It may take a minute or so to get the email. Enter the code from the email in the Business Manager form and hit Submit. This completes your Business Manager verification submission process. Please bookmark the Security Center page and check back within 48 hours to see if the status of your application has changed to verified or rejected. There can be a few reasons why your application is rejected. Let us go through each of them and understand what they mean. Legal name and address. Documents are unacceptable or do not match. What this means is a document submitted for the address verification is insufficient because it does not contain the legal name. The address provided in the Business Manager does not match the address in the document, etc. Website content and business do not match. What this could mean is that Facebook cannot confirm that the business owns the website used for email verification because the website does not contain the legal business name. Business and email domain do not match. What this means is Facebook cannot confirm that the business owns the email domain. Business and the confirmed phone do not match. This could mean that the phone number used for verification does not match the business phone number provided in the business details and documents. Facebook needs more information to verify your business. If the Facebook reviewer needs additional information to verify your organization, they will provide specific instructions on the Business Manager page. You can follow the instructions and resubmit. Suggested phone number instead of email. This is common. Facebook cannot confirm that the business owns the email domain and that the requester works for the business, but they can confirm that the business owns the phone number. So, please verify by receiving a code on your phone number. After submission of the application, bookmark your Security Center page and check on the status in 48 hours. If the status is still in review after 48 hours, please contact the Turn team. If you have been rejected, go through the reason for rejection and resubmit with the corrections requested. If you have been verified, congratulations! You are now one step closer to completing onboarding. Turn will take your application forward and get the necessary approvals for display name and your WABA from Facebook to get your WhatsApp service line activated. I hope this was a helpful session. As a recap, here are the top 5 things to bear in mind. Only an admin to your organization's Facebook page has access to set up a Business Manager account and can complete the verification. Make sure to have the correct documents of proof as per the approved list of documents by country from Facebook. Double check the fields that you fill into the Business Manager form and make sure that they match exactly with your proof documents. Use your official email with the domain name matching that of your organization's website for the verification code. And lastly, check for response from Facebook after 48 hours of submitting your application on the business info page of the Business Manager account. Good luck and thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Indrani. Really helpful. So just to recap, And I think sometimes this is a lot of information to go through. Think of the Facebook Business Manager account as the engine that supports all your Facebook tools. So be it the WhatsApp Business API, if you've ever run some Facebook ads, that all sits on top of the Facebook Business Manager account. We had a question here, does BM verification mean that you, for your business means that you get the blue tick? Not necessarily. As I mentioned, just make sure that this information is provided as Indrani shared with us. And that will be the first step to get your WhatsApp business account verified. Some other questions that we've had here, I'm just looking at the chat. If you don't have a website yet, I know that some said that they are not able to move for the sign up. A quick workaround for that is use your LinkedIn URL, your Facebook URL when signing up to Turn, where it says website if you get stuck there. Let's have another look here at some questions, lots of questions. So the blue tick verification, that is specifically linked to Facebook. So that is for your Facebook page, your business page. That is a separate verification process. We are specifically talking about your WhatsApp business verification. So that I would refer to check if you want to have the blue tick verification, to touch to your Facebook team on that. You can do the registration after today's session. You don't have to do it right now. It's just an opportunity for you to do it now. And if you want live support, we can provide with you. We do have an amazing support team that's also contactable via WhatsApp. So if you want to take some time, view the videos again and do it at your own time, you're more than welcome to. And our team will be on standby to support you via WhatsApp. Let's see. Yes. Is it necessary to provide all this business documentation? Yes, unfortunately it is. It is the way that Facebook and WhatsApp can verify that you are the legal owner of this organization. And that helps with the trust that they are sharing with the end users. So if they are saying that your organization is X, then the end user will know that this has been verified and it is a legit organization that they are dealing with. So unfortunately, you do require all those business documentations to submit. We have a list of those documentation that can be shared as well. I know sometimes for non-profit organizations, you might not have necessarily business documentation, but certificate of incorporation, etc. will also work. So please refer to the list of documentation to see that you have those to submit. Let's have a look here. So let's have a look here, see. Yes, so we will provide you with the video recording again for you to review that. All the questions has been answered. Mr. Iban, I see that you get stuck, unfortunately, with the Facebook Business Manager verification. Unfortunately, we do recommend, if you do get stuck, as to review that your documentation matches exactly the guidelines provided by Facebook. We also recommend that when you are submitting your documentation and your organization, that it all lines up. If your organization name is different to that on your documentation, that sometimes does trip up on the verification process. So if your organization is called X, make sure that that is also referred on your business documentation and all lines up. That we find from our experience gets you verified a lot quicker. Let's see. So yes, so there's some questions. So I know there's a question around pricing. So currently the pricing is optimized for social impact organizations already. We have compared that to other business service providers, and that's kind of the entry for the market. But a reminder that your first 6 months will be free to use the Turn license and the WhatsApp Business API. So a really good opportunity to see if this is a good fit for you and your use case. Let's have another look if there's any other questions. So we've discussed that one. Does this mean you need to create a Facebook page? Yes. So you would need to create a Facebook page to start your verification. We'll provide a code to use to avail 6 months free for the license. Yes. So if you are using the link that was shared in the chat, that link is already enabled with the discount code. So you can just access that and that will make sure that your license is applied. Lots of conversations here, which is great. So, Mr. Arban, also just to answer you regarding your resubmit button, it will appear on Facebook after reviewed. So once you've submitted your documentation, it does take a while to get reviewed. And then once it's been accepted or rejected, that will become available for you to resubmit if they need to extra documentation on that. Fantastic. So I think we are going to go on to Indrani now to take us through the next steps. We will continue to answer all your questions. Again, all the videos will be made available and we have some amazing documentation for you to sit down and read through at your own time with the support from our team via WhatsApp. Thanks everyone for your time today.
Thanks, Lisa. We are so excited that so many of you are signing up during this session, and our systems, and I'm sure Facebook's team are also working very hard to keep up. So, but if you do get an error at any point in the process, maybe try after an hour, but please do continue. I hope all these sessions have helped you get a better understanding on what the onboarding process is. And we're happy to answer any further questions that you may have during the breaks or after the bootcamp through our various communication channels. Let's take a quick 5-minute break again. And after the break, we have the basic training session to get you all started using the Turn.io platform. See you soon.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your break. We are halfway into the bootcamp, and before we hear our final inspirational story, let us now hear from Dipesh Trivedi, who has been at Facebook for over 13 years and is the regional head of WhatsApp partnerships across APAC. Prior to joining the WhatsApp team, Dipesh managed the retail and e-commerce teams across Southeast Asia at Facebook, helping companies to scale and grow their business leveraging tools across the digital and Facebook ecosystem. I'll now hand it over to Dipesh to share a few words.
Hey everyone, my name is Dipesh and I lead our WhatsApp partnerships team here in APAC. And I hope everyone is having a great day so far and has found the first half of the day insightful and useful for your business. Over the past couple of years, we have seen a lot of businesses, NGOs, and government entities leverage WhatsApp to engage with their end users. In fact, it has been a critical channel of engagement for them to reach their beneficiaries, especially during the COVID-19 global pandemic. I've seen a lot of organizations launch scalable campaigns on WhatsApp. And one tip from my experience is that organizations that follow proper rules of engagement, implement clear opt-in with user consent and well thought through content, typically perform the best and become the best channel of choice for end users to engage with the service in the long run. With the hands-on session that is coming up, I hope you put into practice what you've learned so far. We're excited to see how WhatsApp can be used as a service to create impact on your communities. And thanks again for spending the day with us. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Dipesh, for sharing your valuable insights. For our last inspirational story in today's bootcamp, we'll hear from the CARE International team about how they used WhatsApp's chat service more recently for setting up a support line for their employees in Afghanistan in August this year.
I'm John Elwoods. I lead the communications and marketing teams at CARE. This was a great partnership, and I'm really proud to be able to share this case study. For those that don't know CARE, we started in 1945 after the Second World War as the original creators of the care package, helping kind of people in Europe essentially recover from the Second World War with food and medicine. The organization now, at 75 years old, we're in over 100 countries worldwide. We do a lot of development work as well as still emergency and disaster response. And this kind of partnership really came about from a very urgent need. You'll all remember the situation in August as the US kind of pulled out from Afghanistan. And this project really was around supporting staff kind of as we went through that time. You'll remember kind of the US sort of withdrawal happened really quite urgently. It was a very sort of speedy piece that kind of really we had to scale up for immediately. We started an internal task force because, as you can imagine, we were getting lots of questions from staff. And the US, as they pulled out, set up a new special visa, essentially. So a P2 visa designation, which enabled people in Afghanistan who had worked with US organizations and international organizations to essentially apply for this visa designation. And that was offered essentially, we could offer it to all of our staff. We had about 400 staff members in Afghanistan, local staff members. And so essentially kind of that visa was available to them to apply for, but also is available to past staff as well. And we had been in Afghanistan since 1961. So that number of potential applicants for this visa ran into the thousands. And so we set up essentially our legal team in Atlanta had set up a mailbox that people could essentially email questions to and ask to kind of like start the process of this visa verification. And very, very quickly, that email box just became inundated. And essentially, we set up an internal task force of 30 to 40 staff members who were working around the clock to just triage that mailbox and kind of respond to questions. And as you can imagine, because it's so sensitive, we wanted to be able to respond to people in a timely fashion. But we really saw that a lot of the questions that were coming in were very similar questions. People were asking the same things. People were often asking the same questions on multiple occasions, asking about status of their kind of request, or essentially kind of just asking for information about what the process was. And so we quickly kind of thought that this is where a chatbot could really help us. Like, how can we actually take some of the pressure off of that mailbox and kind of triage this in a different way? So Jessica, we reached out to our Facebook partners originally, and we're really pleased that we have a great relationship kind of like with the Facebook team. They quickly put us in touch with WhatsApp team, and then WhatsApp introduced us very quickly to Lisa and the team at Turn to really help us kind of activate this. And we set it up incredibly quickly. You'll see there, it was sort of 4 days from start to finish. This was accelerated very quickly to get this off the ground as fast as we could. We knew some of the common questions and the common answers. And so we were able to kind of set up that menu of options kind of very quickly. And then obviously kind of develop it and fine tune it once we had it up and running. It allowed people to therefore have real-time response. It allowed us to actually triage the questions that were then kind of getting escalated. And so we still were able to actually escalate questions that needed to go to a personal operative to be able to answer those, or to our legal team. But it just helped us manage it in a very different way and be able to give a better quality of service to people who were asking those questions, but also allowed us just to manage it and kind of like manage it internally in a really efficient way. So you'll see we had a huge amount of traffic coming in from Afghanistan. We had about 263 kind of active users. And I think kind of the chat is actually still kind of being used kind of currently. But what it also enabled for us, this was the first time we had used anything like this. This was the first time we had engaged with WhatsApp for Business. Our teams kind of on the ground globally use WhatsApp a lot. Kind of we use it a lot to kind of like work with our local staff, use it repeatedly. We use it to speak to program participants and people in the communities where we work. And so kind of it's allowed us really to actually think about how can we leverage this for other uses, so much as in the way that the Mercy Corps kind of example, we've now got essentially a new array of kind of different chatbot kind of use cases that we're investigating and hope to have up and running soon. But it's been an amazing kind of process from start to finish. So, and the fact that we were able to set it up in such a speedy fashion as well, I think was just great. I don't know that we want to do everything in 4 days, but I think the fact that we were able to do it and that the teams partnered together to do that was huge kind of kudos to everyone who was involved in this on the Turn side, and kind of really, really pleased with how this was able to help our staff on the ground in a very tense and very kind of emotionally distressing kind of time. You'll see here some of the kind of key learnings, and you'll see sort of the menu kind of options there. As I said, we're in over 100 countries now, and so really this has excited our staff internally about the potential, and so kind of many more kind of use cases that we're starting to build out. I think Turn, this was, I think, one of the quickest setups that you had done as well. So Lisa, I'm sure you may have some learnings on your side to kind of add around that, but I think it was incredibly efficient to be able to kind of do this. And also really thinking kind of at Care about how can we use kind of tools in different ways, like how can we use chatbots to really help kind of augment our existing solutions. We're doing some really interesting things around behavior change campaigns with Facebook. How can we kind of augment now WhatsApp kind of packs into our array of communication tools as well. And so some great learning there, and was a very exciting to see all the potential that came out of what was quite a distressing situation at the outset, but it's turned into, I think, a real positive. So thanks to everyone at Turn for your help on this.
Thank you, John. We love hearing examples of success stories, and I'm sure you will agree that this was a really good example of how a humanitarian helpline use case was set up in the need of the hour and in record time to help its beneficiaries. Now, we'll move on to the basic training session that will run for the next 30 minutes and will explain the step-by-step details of how to use the Turn.io platform to build your WhatsApp bot. The format of this basic training will be as follows. We will show you 3 short videos recorded by Manish Manohar, our community lead and support manager here at Turn.io. After each video, we will answer any questions that you may have in the Q&A section before moving on to the next video. Let's begin.
Hi, my name is Manish. I love it that you want to use chat to have life-changing conversations. In this video, we'll explore what a WhatsApp service is and the basic building blocks we need to create one. Let's get started.
There are hundreds of use cases for WhatsApp services. For example, you can have an automated service that gives you information about weather when you share your location. Or you can have a service like the WHO that provides up-to-date information on COVID-19. Automated services are often called chatbots. You can also have a service that uses less automation and focuses more on human-to-human conversations. For example, a help desk service for gender-based violence victims. The service will provide information on where to get legal assistance, but can also offer the opportunity to talk to a trained social worker on WhatsApp. Most of these services are made up of a number of building blocks. We will explore a typical chatbot and how we build it. Animals.save is an organization that is on a mission to spread love and awareness about animals. One of the tools that they use is a WhatsApp bot. Let's see how it works. If we send hi to them over WhatsApp, they respond right away with a welcome message. The welcome message introduces the service and gives a short list of menu items that you can interact with. If we explore further and send 1, the service responds back with the content about dogs. Now let's unpack the basic components that make this interaction possible. All the messages that the service is sending to its user are referred to as content. Anything sent by the user that results in a response is called a trigger. The part of the content that prompts or guides user to send specific keywords are called guides. You will find these 3 building blocks in any chatbot: content, triggers, and menu guides.
That completes our first section. Next, we are going to look at how we actually use these building blocks in Turn.io user interface. Turn.io is a web-based product that you can use to set up a help desk, build a chatbot, or deliver behavior change communications over WhatsApp. Turn exists to help you grow your impact using chat. Let's explore the user interface.
You can log into Turn.io using this URL, www.app.turn.io. Once you are logged in, you will see this landing page. This is the dashboard section that you find in the left navigation panel. Let's look at what you find in other sections. This content section deals with everything related to content. You can add different types of content, you can edit it, and delete content. Think of content as preloaded messages that your service can send to users via WhatsApp. Next, we have automation. This is where you define all your logic for triggers and actions that are needed for automated responses. Automation takes care of repetitive questions to free up your team to take care of complex conversations. Then we have goals. Turn.io allows you to track each user's progress towards their goal from within the conversation. You can specify milestone behaviors too in this section. Insights gives you an overview of how your users are interacting with your service. Questions such as, are we making an impact? Is our audience growing? And how are our users engaging? Are answered here. The last section is settings. Here you manage what your account looks like on WhatsApp. You can set up integrations, manage webhooks, and track your subscription billing. And then you see the help button. This opens up our learning platform called learn.turn.io. Here you find product updates and, most importantly, how-to guides with great examples. If we go back to the product and look at the top left corner, you will see your logo, and next to it is a small drop-down arrow. By clicking the small arrow, you can navigate between Livelines and Sandbox accounts. Click Switch to change between numbers. By clicking on your actual number, you can open a model with tools for promotion. There are 3 ways for users to start interacting with your service. The first one is to scan this QR code. The QR code is unique to your WhatsApp number. Anyone can scan it and will be directed to your WhatsApp line. Use it on pamphlets, add it on your website. Take out your phone and scan it so you understand the experience. WhatsApp also created the concept of a Wami link. When users click this link, it opens the app on their phone or desktop. And then you can still save the number on your phone and find the contact on WhatsApp to start chatting. In the top right corner, you see your Google avatar and another drop-down arrow. Here, you find all information about your organization. Very important is the View Members section. When you click it, you can add new members or remove team members on your organizational account. By toggling the switch, you can make anyone admin on the account. Under template billing, you top up the amount you have for sending templates and understand your spend for last 2 months. To the left of your avatar, you find the search section. If you click on it, the search page opens. Here, you can search for specific messages. You can search based on words, labels, message direction, or team members. Once you are happy with the search result and want to save the query, you can save it as collections. Collections are easily accessible from the dashboard landing page. The middle of the landing page is called collections. Collections are a group of messages that meet a specific set of search rules. Collections can be linked to folders that help you organize conversations.
Okay, that's a wrap on our exploratory product tour.
Great. Let's now take a look to see if we have any questions in the Q&A section around this set of videos that were shared. Right, I don't see any questions on the basic training first video. Let's move on to the second video. And if you have any questions, please raise it in the Q&A section so we can answer them.
I'm going to show you how to work with content in Turn. Creating delightful content for your chat service will be the key to your success. We observe that most impactful services to be the ones that are always crafting and improving their content and or have a utility feature. Think something like booking an appointment, finding the most up-to-date numbers. That is a strong reason for users to come back to your service.
Previously, we said that a chat service has three basic building blocks: content, triggers, and guides. We are going to deep dive into the content building block. Let us say you are a part of an organization called animal.save. One of the key goals is to make information about animals available worldwide. To date, you distributed pamphlets and did all sorts of events. But now you have access to WhatsApp Business API via turn.io. You want to design a series of content messages and use it on your service. To add content, log into your Turn account and go to Content section. Let's click on the Add Content button. Now we can fill out the card in order to create our first piece of content. First, we select the language of the content from the drop-down list. Since it's a welcome message, we set the title to Welcome. Note that the title is for internal purposes. Your users will never see it. The title helps you manage and find content. The message part is what gets sent to users. You can use the formatting and emoji icons at the bottom to make it easier and more fun to read. You can upload a media attachment by clicking on the icon of the media you want to add. WhatsApp allows one image, video, audio clip, or PDF documents per message. It is optional to add a label. You can filter on label when you want to find content. When you're happy, click the Add button and the message will be saved. The three little dots allow you to edit or delete content. Also, note that you can search content in the top.
Congratulations! You have just uploaded your first piece of content. Don't stop here. Continue to add more. One of the biggest advantages of building a chat service using the WhatsApp Business API is that you can set up automated response to user queries. This makes it possible to have life-changing conversations at scale.
Adding content to turn.io is one of the first steps in creating your chat service. We have added some content earlier for our service called animals.save. Animal.save loves animals. One of the organization's goals is to make info about pets available to anyone in the world. Now, we want to make this content easily accessible to our users. We need to set up triggers and actions to automatically respond with your preloaded content. Triggers plus action is equal to automation. That's important to remember. Think of triggers as something that activates your automation logic. Examples of triggers are when you receive a message from user that corresponds to a specific word or emoji, or when you receive a message from user with a specific contact profile. When you receive a message from user that is not handled by any other trigger. That is called a catch-all trigger. When a follow-up timer completes. If triggers are seen as the activators, then actions are the responders. Actions are the result of a trigger being received. Examples of actions are reply with a message, update a contact profile field, or call a webhook. Let's go back to our service and see how we can set up triggers and action. That is, how do we set up automation? In turn, go to Automation section. Click Add Automation. Step 1 is to choose the trigger that will start the automation. Like discussed earlier, we can choose between a few options. Let's select the message received trigger. This means the automation rule will be activated as soon as we receive a specific message on our chat service. Step 2 is to define the criterion or the behavior of the trigger. I can choose different criterion from the list. The message starts with a specific keyword or lists of keywords. The message exactly matching a number, letter, emoji, or phrase. The message is from a particular phone number in a particular country or region. The message is automatically labeled as. The message is from a user with a specific profile, etc. Let's select the first criterion for our trigger. That is, the message starts with a specific keyword or list of keywords. Now we have to define the specific keyword that should kick off the automation. Let's say our keyword is a hi. That is, we want to activate the automation rule whenever we receive a message from a user that starts with a hi. Next, we need to specify the action we want to take. The actions could be replying with a message, updating a field on a contact's profile, or calling a webhook. We are going to act by replying with a message. And now we need to specify which message. In our case, we want to send our welcome message. Once you have specified a trigger and action, you'll be able to give your automation a title and click Activate button. That sets up your automation.
Now, let's check it out in action. This is our WhatsApp service. Let me send a hi. And there is my welcome message. Fantastic.
Great. Let's look at the Q&A section. I know there were a couple of questions that came up on this. One of them was, can we export the data from the dashboard to Excel? You can only export the data to different formats such as Excel by integrating your turn.io account with an external tool such as BigQuery. And if you're interested in learning more about that, please do attend our training sessions that we do have, and we'll send you details about those on a weekly basis. In fact, on an ongoing basis, we have our basic training, advanced training, as well as the technical training. More details on that can be learned in the training session. Going through other questions, can we collect incoming text from user/customers to Google spreadsheet? So again, you can only export the data to different formats, making sure that it's the same answer. So essentially you can do that, but you'll need to integrate your turn.io account with an external tool, which is BigQuery. More questions around recordings, and yes, we will be sending all of the details after this bootcamp in an email. You'll all be receiving the link to the recorded bootcamp, so you can go back to that. Rupsha, we do see your message that you are stuck on the registration process, so please be patient. We're going to look into that and we'll reach out to you. Thanks for sending the email about the same, and we will get back to you. Great. I think we can move on to the next video.
In this section, we are going to look at how we can manage conversations at scale. Let's get started.
In turn, we talk about a group of messages that meet specific criteria, a collection. Collections are the square cards you see in the middle of the dashboard section of Turn. It can be linked to folders that help you organize conversations. By default, everyone has an All Conversations collection. If you click the View Chats button, it will open up the conversation page. Now you can see the chat history with the user. Scroll up, down to see past interactions. The naming tells you whether a message was sent by a team member or by automation. On the left, you see the user's profile. This gives you important contextual information. On the right, you see the list of all users interacting with your service. At the bottom, you find the reply box. You can send preloaded messages or templates using the lightning bolt and timer icons respectively, or type a custom response if it's within the 24 hours window. You can also assign this user to a particular team member, or copy the chat link and then share it via another channel like email or maybe on Slack. When you are done answering a question from the user, you can close the chat. This helps you progress through your list of users. If you want to switch between open and closed conversations, do that here in the chat list. Let's go back to the profile section on the left. You can edit the value of most profile fields. You can add new profile fields or delete a field. Profile fields can also be used as trigger in automation. For example, you can send content in a specific language to a user based on their language profile. We will discuss this in more detail in our advanced training. Let's go back to the dashboard and make a new collection. We need to go to the search page. Let us say you want to build a collection of all the users who have sent you, say, dog. You will first search for the term. You can even say you're only interested in received messages. Your messages will filter and only show you user that messaged dog. Now you can save this by clicking Save as Collection. Once you do that, the new collection appears in the dashboard like this. If you view the chats in this collection, you will see the chat list only contains a slice of your users when compared to the All Conversations collection. Similarly, you can build collections out of coaches assigned and labels. You can always edit or delete collections by clicking on these three dots.
And that brings us to the end of basic training sessions. I look forward to see your service and the impact that you would create using Turn.io.
Great. I think we'll try to take the next couple of minutes to see if there are any more questions that are coming in around the basic training session. Looking quickly into the Q&A. From Serish Fatima, this is not necessarily related to the basic training, but as Turn.io is offering free license to bootcamp attendees, how can I get a free license? Our community campaigns, can they be run on the WhatsApp Business API? So if you've received an invite for this bootcamp, Serish, this does mean that your organization is eligible for the free license for 6 months. But please note that you will need to complete your onboarding and your business verification by the deadline of December 31st this year. And only then will you be able to avail that offer. In terms of your campaigns, we'd love to hear more about it. So please, maybe if you can send us an email with details on that, we're happy to help you talk further in terms of what kind of campaigns you want to run and how you can use the Turn platform for that. From Hijaz, is the export of all conversations to Excel or just selected text only, such as name, phone, address, etc. So you can export the data, like we said, using the BigQuery tool. Once you have all the data in your BigQuery instance, if you are aware of SQL, then you can just query the data and get all the required information. So just maybe brush up on your SQL skills and you'll be able to write those queries yourself. There's a question from Abhishek. If our company website is under construction, will I still be able to verify with any other business page like Instagram or Facebook? Just waiting on a response on that. But so you will need to have your website ready for verification, because that's one of the things that is looked into to make sure that the organization that is applying for verification actually has one, legal registration, as well as the person who is applying is actually employed, and there is a manual sort of check to make sure that the the organization that's applied has a legitimate website as well. So so please try to get that up and about before you get started with your verification. I saw a question on chat, just quickly looking into that. Vayu Susilo, I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name right, but if my personal Facebook account has been verified, can I use it to sign up for the page for my organization to speed up the verification process? Sorry, but this would be something, so basically the Facebook Business Manager verification is being done for the organization that is applying. So you will need to actually get your Facebook page of your organization verified and not a personal page. I hope that helps answer your question. Great. I think we have come to an end in terms of questions around the basic training. So in conclusion, to build your WhatsApp bot using Turn.io, we suggest going through 5 main steps. Okay, so you need to draft a short welcome message, add the welcome content in the interface, add the automation. You can save the demo number on your phone, and lastly, start the conversation. So we did have some time for a last hands-on session to kind of help you guys maybe get started with this. But what would maybe be good is if you can, we'll send you the link to where you can get started with this. Do that, maybe start playing around with the, once you've set up the Sandbox account, you can start playing around based on whatever you've learned from the session that Manish has shared. And if you have any questions and get stuck, please feel free to share them on the Q&A window for us. And we're on standby to answer any questions. I think it's time for another short break. So after the break, we will have an informative session on best practices to follow, and we will help you, go through that. And once you've understood the best practices, that will really help you when you start building out your chat service. So we believe this will be a very, very useful session as you start designing your service. So let's grab a quick snack in the next 5 minutes, and we'll see you soon. Enjoy your break. Welcome back. As a team, we worked closely with more than 160 organizations to help them build their services. Surely they're bound to be learnings from all that collective experience. In the next session, Pippa Yates, co-founder and head of product for Turn.io, will share some of the best practices that you should be aware of in order to create an exceptional chat service.
Hi everyone, my name is Pippa Yates, and I'm one of the co-founders of Turn.io. My background is in behavioral science and human-centered design, and today I'd like to talk to you a bit about best practice. In this session, you'll learn how to create a simple, user-friendly experience with chat, and to recognize great chat content. So let's get started. We all know intuitively what a great experience feels like when we experience it for ourselves, but it's hard to know how to create one for yourself. So we're going to start by critiquing a couple of examples together, and by doing so we'll break down what works and what doesn't work. First up is one of the most important messages you'll design in your chat service. The very first message your user sees when they interact with your organization, your welcome message. Whether you're running a help desk or a completely automated chatbot, first impressions do count. So here are two fairly different examples. On the left, you'll see the example has a welcome statement, some date information about the service, followed by some language options, and finally the main menu. On the right, we've got a greeting, some information about the service, followed by a note saying that this is not a real human, and a link to the terms and conditions. Okay, so a couple of things to note here about your welcome message. Your welcome message sets the tone for the rest of your service. You'll notice the example on the left has quite a serious tone. It's an official government service, and it is clear that the authoritative voice is used so that this information is trusted. The example on the right shows a service with a much more informal personality. You can immediately see that the service is designed for youth. So you'll need to think about what tone is right for your service and your audience. Second, the user should be absolutely clear what the service provides. You can do that by describing what you do, or by showing the user by including your menu of options right away. It is best practice to make sure the user is aware upfront what your data policies and terms and conditions are. Also remember that you need to collect user consent to send notifications later on should you wish to do so. And it's best to get this as early as possible. Depending on your user's literacy levels, you may also want to consider asking what language a user would prefer right at the beginning. But this can also be a menu item. And lastly, always make it clear whether your service is a bot or your users are engaging with a human operator. Your users will have completely different expectations of what type of service it is, and it is important to set these expectations up front. Also, make sure that your user always knows how to get in touch with a human should they need to do so. This next example is of two chatbot menus. You'll see two different types of menus here. The one is a numbered list with short phrases of menu text and emojis, and users will use numbers, all the emojis, all the keywords to navigate through this menu. The second is a menu built using WhatsApp's list message type, which opens a drawer of options when the user clicks on the button. As you'll hear me say a lot, simpler is always better. The best option is to keep your menu shorter than 6 menu items. But up to 10 is acceptable. And this is why the WhatsApp list functionality, they limit you to 10 items, as they tested this extensively for usability. I wanted to show you two types of navigation at the end of a message. It's really important that your user never feels lost while navigating through your service. Just like we use breadcrumbs on the web, it's typical on chat services to have navigation at the bottom of a message that directs a user back to either the main menu or other related content. Here we see one type of navigation using buttons, and in the other using numbers and keywords. Both work well, to navigate your user back to wherever they need to be or to the next most important message. Let's talk about content length and structure. You can send messages with a total of 4,096 characters on WhatsApp. But if you think about it, an SMS is 160 characters, a tweet 280 characters, a Facebook post can get up to 60,000 characters, but most engagement happens when posts are under 50 characters. My next tip is to plan for mistakes. Your users will always use your service in ways that you don't expect, no matter how smartly you set it up. So make sure your error messages help your user correct their mistake or guides them back to what your service can actually provide for them. In these examples, a service includes a note that the bot didn't understand them, and then provides a full menu of options, allowing the user to self-navigate to something that they find useful. One of the biggest mistakes teams make when writing content for chatbots is they make it too long. Keep your content under 450 characters. That's characters, not words. And break it up into paragraphs and use formatting and emojis to make it easier to scan. Your users are very busy. Get your key message across as quickly as possible. I know it is much more difficult to write simple, concise content than it is to write longer content. But spend the time and effort to simplify, simplify, simplify. You'll be rewarded in engagement. One of the most important set of messages to design is how you hand over from a chatbot to a human operator. The best practice with human bot handover is to always make it very clear to the user when you're handing them off to a human and when you're handing the user back to the bot. You can use a few questions to gather all the information your operator may need before they can answer the question. Doing this helps your operators use their time most efficiently. As social impact organizations, we all need to collect data to prove we're having an impact, and that our service is being used by the people whom we expect. But as soon as your user feels like you're bombarding them with questions, they're going to stop answering. Another option for data collection, if you want to expand the types of question formats you want to ask, or if you are collecting highly sensitive information that you don't want to have stored in message content in the conversation, you can link to a web form, like a Google form, and have the user return to the chat after they have completed the form. I have one last tip about data collection. As much as possible, try to weave your questions into the conversation instead of sending all your questions at once in a survey. An example of this is to ask your users their name when they first interact with your service. Always make sure your users understand the value of giving you their data and give them something valuable in return, such as personalizing the service for them. It's time to recap some of the best practices we've talked about in this session. Firstly, determine the personality of your service and keep your tone and voice consistent throughout the experience. You do not need to create an elaborate personality or give your bot a human name, and you don't need to add unnecessary humor if it doesn't support your key message. But you do need to find a conversational tone that works for your organization and use words and phrases that users will find it easy to understand. Secondly, when you structure your content, keep your messages short and sweet, under 450 characters, so they are not truncated. Most users will skim read your content, so try to get your key message across as quickly as possible and elaborate further if needed. And make sure the user always knows what to do next, whether that is how to get to the next message or return to your main menu or speak to a human operator. Thirdly, break down lengthy topics into smaller chunks that are easy for your users to navigate and understand. Format your content into paragraphs, use step-by-step instructions and media such as images, videos, audio files, or PDFs to help aid understanding. A menu of frequently asked questions is a great way to get a lot of information across in a way that is easy to understand. You might create FAQs for your operators to use as quick replies when replying to users manually, or for use in your bot. But the structure should be similar. Make sure they're short and written as simply as possible without any jargon. When you're writing, imagine that your user may forward this message to someone else who has absolutely no context. So always answer the question in the text. Don't just link to an answer online. And use media, images, videos, or audio to explain your answer. But make sure you always include explanatory text, as your users may not want to download media files if they are worried about their data costs. Here are some overall tips to keep in mind that will help you plan for launch of your WhatsApp service and beyond. Think through all the errors your users will make and write error messages. But also check periodically what errors users are making and adjust your content accordingly. No matter how well you've designed your service, users will always use it in ways you don't expect. Second, plan how you will re-engage your users. You'll need to get message templates submitted and approved before you can send any notifications through the WhatsApp Business API. And you'll need to keep your service quality high so that if you want to send more than 1,000 notifications a day, plan how you'll ramp up notification sends if you'll be reaching more than 1,000 users. Third, launching your service is just the beginning. In fact, we recommend you launch with the simplest thing you can and iterate from there as you learn how your users interact and what they find valuable. Make sure you plan time for this on a weekly basis after launch. We've collected some useful resources for you that we'll share that can help you further develop a great conversational experience. And of course, we're always here to help. So have a look at our demo videos or reach out to our support line if you need some guidance. And don't forget, keep it simple.
Great. Let's possibly take the next 3 to 5 minutes to raise any questions that you may have on the best practices session that we just saw. To answer your questions, I'd like to invite Pippa back.
Hi, everyone. I'm here and waiting. I hope you guys have some very juicy, difficult questions for me to answer today. While we wait for those to come through, please use the Q&A in Zoom. But while we wait for some questions to come through, I've got some questions for you guys. So please feel free to just answer in the chat as we go. Yeah, so I wanted to find out from you guys, based on these best practices, how many menu items do you think is too many in your chatbot? If you just have a guess, answer in the chat. Let's see if see what you guys think in terms of how many options are too many options. When you're going to start confusing your user. Okay, we got Fatima saying 10, maximum 9, more than 10, 7, more than 5, more than 10, less than 8. Okay, so some really great answers. I'm glad you guys are all under the 10 option mark. So you want to keep your menus as short as possible. We think about 6 to 7 is a bit of a sweet spot, but up to 10 is also absolutely fine. Actually, the list message option that's available in WhatsApp and soon in turn has 10 options. So you don't want to go anything over that. It becomes a bit too overwhelming for your user. To kind of take everything in before they choose their answer. So we do have a question that has come in around how do you build a chatbot without coding? So lucky for you, you don't need to know how to code at all if you want to build a chatbot. Turn, but also other business solution providers provide no-code platforms. And so in turn, we try to make it as easy as it is to use your email and reply to your emails is to set up your chat service. So you just need to know how to navigate the web, and you don't need to code at all. Of course, if you are more technical and you do know how to use code and you want to explore really complex things or integrate with other systems, that's available too through our API. But if you don't know how to code, I don't know how to code. I create services all the time on WhatsApp, so not a problem at all. Okay, so I've got another question for you all. What is the ideal length for a chat message? How many characters are we talking about? What does best practice say? Okay, we've got 450, less than or equal to 50, 450, 450, 450. You guys, I'm very impressed that your ears have all been opened for this very long boot camp. We're getting a lot of 450. I think less or equal to 50 is 50 characters is really small. I'll be super impressed if you can get a lot of your messaging into under 50. Maybe 50 words is a good option as well, but 450 characters is definitely want to stay within. You'll see, I don't know if you've ever been sent a really long message on WhatsApp over a certain point, which is just after 450 characters, messages actually truncate, and your user will have to click the read more button on the message in order to see the full thing. So staying within that as well. Also, we're all incredibly lazy readers. Just how people scan words and text on websites. We also have got quite used to scanning our WhatsApp messages for important things. So within your 450 characters, also use formatting. So you can use bold messaging, you can use emojis. Think about paragraphs, give yourself spaces so it's easy for your users to scan the important details, but as short and sweet as possible is definitely answer. Okay, so we got some questions coming in. So the first one is around, does the platform require a high-speed performance computer or lightweight? So the Turn platform is a web application, so you don't need any specific hardware or storage space on your device. You access it through your web browser, and so it doesn't need a particularly high speed computer at all. Good internet is great, but it's also, we take into account kind of poor internet connections in terms of the design of how we built it as well. Okay, so next one is what are some of the systems that Turn integrates with? Okay, so Turn, there are a few default integrations that you can use. The one is with BigQuery, which I think you've heard a lot today, which is a great long-term data storage and analytics connector into analytics tools. So that's a standard integration. We also have a standard integration into a tool called Rapid Pro or TextIt, which provides other chatbot building feature sets that some organizations like. We also have a custom integrations space within Turn, so you can build your own custom integration to Turn with our APIs. And we have a whole lot of documentation and examples of how different people have done that. So there are different places within the Turn interface you can integrate with, or you can integrate completely. And so some organizations, for example, integrate with their customer relationship management system or their database to pull profile data inside of Turn. So when their operators are viewing the questions or comments from users, they have additional profile data. You can also integrate with natural language understanding services like Dialogflow and Rasa if you want to be delivering more intelligent responses to either quite long form questions that your users ask or other ways. So that's just a little bit of a touch and a flavor. For the engineers out there, we have a couple of replets or code samples that allow you to get an indication of what that code looks like very easily. And all of this is available in our Learn documentation, as well as please go ahead and ask more questions in our forum, which we'll be sharing in a bit. So there's a question about Turn's insights and what does analytics look like. So as stock standard within the Turn Insights page, we show 7, 30, and 90-day view of your data, and you can see the number of users you've had over that time, how many messages they've sent and received, how many of those messages have been automated, how many of your operators have replied to them, your top content that people have consumed, and much more. So that gives you a little bit of a flavor of what the Insight page looks like. But don't hesitate to find out more about our insights through our Learn platform. Okay, so the next one is around ethics. Very, very, very good question. I'm so actually glad really someone asked this one. So I think that there's a lot of things to consider here. One is, we talked a lot about consent and consent to communicate, as well as sharing your terms and conditions kind of really upfront with users. But if you're dealing with under 18-year-olds or teens, I think they're using these platforms. They're on WhatsApp anyway. There's a minimum limit, but you know, all the teens are available on WhatsApp. And you need to think quite sensitively about how you design the system. So we've had organizations, for example, who are working specifically with youth who are experiencing either abuse or mental health issues, or are exploring their identity and really sensitive topics. And they create really clever ways to help those youth hide the conversation when they don't want it to be seen anymore, or delete any necessary data. So there's ways in which to think to help your users, to guide them along that journey. I think in this space as social impact organizations, whatever services we design, we need to design them responsibly. You want to think through, you know, how do you give your user all the information they need as quickly as possible and engage with them in a way that they're comfortable with, and not expect necessarily always consistent engagement for them to spend long time engaging with you. There are things you can think about in that space, but really, really great question. I hope I've touched a little bit on some things there. Okay, I'm just going to answer one more question. Okay, so the question is about videos and how we can track videos. So if you have mostly video content, there are two ways you can send videos through WhatsApp. The first is to actually send the video file to the user through WhatsApp, so they can download it onto their device. That is great if your users are, you know, maybe only have periodic access to the internet and they may need to use or view that video later. The downfall is that you're not going to get any video analytics on that. You're not going to get any indication of how far they went into the video. That is unfortunately not provided as data we get back through the WhatsApp Business API. But if you send your videos as a YouTube link, which in WhatsApp, you can view a YouTube video without actually ever leaving WhatsApp. So it has a very similar experience to sending it directly. You will get all your analytics that you get in YouTube or another hosted video provider that you get there. And so that's a great way if you want kind of more granular detail. You're not so worried about your users' consistent internet access. You can send your videos as YouTube or other hosted platform links. Your user will be able to view them in WhatsApp, and you'll get all the analytics you need on that. Okay, so that wraps us up for best practice. Thank you so much for your questions and for answering my questions. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to hand back to Indrani.
Thanks, Pippa. That was very informative. And with that, we have come to the end of our last session for this bootcamp. Here's a quick overview of what we've covered in the bootcamp today. So we've started off by learning about the rules of engagement with the WhatsApp Business API. We heard some of the most inspirational stories from across Asia Pacific. We understood the steps that are involved in onboarding and getting access to the WhatsApp Business API. We learned about the Turn.io interface and the steps required to building a basic service. And finally, heard from Pippa on the best practices to implement a world-class chat service on WhatsApp. We now have a dedicated community forum called chatforimpact.io, where you can get answers to questions about the product and other issues related to Chat for Impact. Just post your question in the forum and someone will get back to you. You can also raise a special request, such as scheduling a call or asking for a feature request, amongst other things. And finally, you can get access to different resources and frequently asked questions. Since you've participated in this bootcamp, we will invite you to join the forum, or you can sign up directly on chatforimpact.io. Once you have joined, you'll be able to explore the different resources available. The forum is also an opportunity for you to showcase the impactful work that you are doing. We really value your participation in our community forum, and we would like to encourage you to be as active as possible by starting new discussions, posting relevant information, and commenting on other people's posts. Our number one priority is for each community member to feel fully supported and heard, and we can achieve this by collectively answering all the questions asked by the different community members who are part of the forum. Before we wrap up, I'd like to take a moment to invite you all to our next event, the Chat for Impact Education webinar. This will be held on December 2nd, so please save the date. We will send you more information about this very soon. To share his closing remarks, I'd like you to invite Simon DeHaan, co-founder of Turn.io and Chief Technology Officer. Over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Indrani. Yeah, I have the honor of chatting to you in closing of today's sessions. Thanks to everyone for presenting today. You've done an incredible job. And thanks to everyone for joining today. Thanks for your questions, your feedback, and your participation. This is still the start of the Chat for Impact journey. At Turn.io, we believe that every person has the right to personalized support that is trusted and secure to help them make decisions every day to create the best possible life for themselves and their loved ones. Our work has been made so much easier by the rapid growth of WhatsApp over the last few years, especially in Asia and the Pacific, where there is now almost universal accessibility, even amongst some of the most vulnerable populations. There's so much opportunity and so much work to be done. We're excited to be working with you all to see what amazing solutions you all come up with that positively impact people's lives. As we support communities to build back from the setbacks inflicted by COVID, we can leverage chat combined with automation to make real-time services universally available 24/7 and at scale. And we're here to support you. We're here on this journey together. We're building a community of thousands of organizations to solve some of the toughest challenges and figure out the best way to empower people around the world. So please join the chatforimpact.io forum and continue with us on this journey. As Indrani already mentioned, just wanted to remind you again, on the 2nd of December, we are hosting an education-focused webinar. If you're working in the education space, either as a school or as an education practitioner, please do join us. Please do sign up and participate. We look forward to hosting you there as well. And lastly, thanks to the wonderful team at WhatsApp for everything they're doing and have done to support the Chat for Impact community. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Claire.
Thanks, Simon. It is my pleasure to introduce Claire. Claire was appointed as Director of Public Policy for WhatsApp in 2019. In her previous role, she was the Director of Community Affairs for Asia Pacific and Latin America at Facebook. Working in the field of policy, communications, and community partnerships for more than 20 years, Claire's professional and volunteer experience includes work in government, NGOs, private sector, and corporate foundations. Over the years, she has developed a deep knowledge in the areas of digital and financial literacy, community engagement, women's empowerment, and creating partnerships and opportunities for positive social impact. I'll now hand it over to Claire to share a few words.
Firstly, I'd like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank you for the time that you've spent with us today and for the positive social impact that all your efforts are helping achieve across the region. It is such an honour for us to have hosted the Chat for Impact Bootcamp in APAC. Thank you for spending your time with us. I know this is a big ask of your time, and I really hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. It's been really encouraging for me with such a new technology, these new exciting things we're working on, to see the turnout for this event, as well as the participation there has been from all of the teams. We really hope this is just the beginning of your journey towards the launch of WhatsApp API service that will help you help your community. During the bootcamp, we shared so many inspirational stories about the use of WhatsApp services. And certainly when we began working on this, we had no idea how many ways it would be used to support communities. Earlier, you saw how COVID Asha, a chatbot built by a team that had never met each other, was helping save lives during COVID. At the peak of the pandemic in India, it helped guide caregivers to oxygen, medicine supplies, and ambulance service providers. You also saw how Reach 52, based out of Singapore and India, had its first offline first platform that enables access to services like education, screening, doctors, vaccine, and meds through WhatsApp. This service has been central, connecting users to digital and on-the-ground health services they need. I can't wait to see what inspirational use cases you will be creating as you all begin your journey towards the use of WhatsApp API service. We are most excited to continue supporting your awesome work on the API, and we're all looking forward to your launches and hearing your inspirational stories. Who knows, if we run this again, maybe it'll be one of your stories that we're featuring in a video or in our events in the future. So now it's time for you to go out and build your very own Chat for Impact. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. What powerful words to close out our very first Asia Pacific Chat for Impact Bootcamp series. Time to wrap up. So what is next? We will be sending you an invitation email to the Chat for Impact forum, so kindly accept that. If you have any questions on onboarding or the product that are not answered in this forum, please feel free to reach out to Turn's dedicated WhatsApp support line, and details of which will also be in the email. In the next 2 weeks, please identify a team member who will lead your organization to get onboarded and set up your service. Please continue to design your service using the wireframe that we gave you during today's session. Don't forget to complete your onboarding and business verification, and also setting up your sandbox on turn.io before the 31st of December this year. That's your deadline so that you can avail the offer. Take your time to build and test your chatbot with basic content and automations to get your service ready for launch. We understand that this was a lot to go through in 3 hours. And having said that, we hope that the training sessions and the Q&A were helpful to give you the confidence to complete the necessary steps towards setting up your WhatsApp chat service. We look forward to seeing you participate in the Chat for Impact forum, and please reach out to us if you need any help. Now, a huge shout out to the Turn and the WhatsApp team that has worked tirelessly over the past 2 months on the planning and execution of the Global Bootcamp series across Americas, EMEA, and Asia Pacific. Can I please request the panelist team to turn on your videos? Thank you, guys. Thanks all. Thanks, team. On behalf of the entire Turn.io and WhatsApp team, I would like to thank you for your time and participation. We are excited to be part of each of your journeys and cannot wait to see what you build. Have a good day or evening, wherever in the world you're joining us from. See you. Bye.